Welcome to Help, I Have Kids. I'm your host, Pam Marshall, a mom of 5 and a pediatric occupational therapist with over 35 years experience. This podcast is designed to equip you with practical tools, insights from experts, and real life stories. Because at the end of the day, you are the head of your child's care team. Each week, you'll hear from pediatric experts and fellow moms like you that will help build your confidence. They'll offer clarity and empower you to make informed decisions that work for your whole family. Welcome to Help, I Have Kids podcast. I'm your host, Pam Marshall, and today we're talking about a topic that many parents experience, but we all don't like to talk about, and that's pediatric pelvic floor therapy. What is that? We're going to find out. Today we have Ashley Leach with us, and she's an occupational therapist and a wealth of knowledge in this area. And we're so glad you're here, Ashley.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Like, I want to know more about your family and your children and all that.
Okay. Well, again, my name's Ashley. I have been married to Ron for 33 years this year. Yes, we have 4 children, all in their 20s by this point. We've got 2 boys, 2 girls. They're kind of spread out around the United States. And
Did you have 2 boys first and then 2 girls? Or?
No, we say our boys were our bookends, our first and our last, and then our girls were in the middle.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, it's a lot
They're
of
all
fun.
so different, aren't they?
So different.
Yeah.
So different. We giggle a lot at our house that they have the same gene pool, but somehow they end up in their own people, of course, right?
They are.
They are. It's really fun.
And a lot of times on the podcast, we talk about how each kid needs something different.
Absolutely.
You know? And it teaches you so much as a mom.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can have another kid come along, and as a mom, you're like, what in the world? What do I do now?
I thought I had this figured out.
Right.
Now I have to figure out how to hit a curveball or something.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so true. They all teach you something.
They sure
for sure.
do. They sure
so what's a piece of advice? This is my fun question.
Yeah.
Piece of advice or a favorite piece of advice that someone gave you as a new mom or in your mom journey?
I think a lot of us have heard the advice to pick your battles. Pick your battles well. Mm-hmm. And I actually heard a little extension of that, where a parenting advice was, think about that particular behavior, whatever you're battling about. Play that out a little bit, at least in your head, right? If I don't address this particular behavior, what might it turn into? Like what kind of character trait might this turn into in my kiddo?
Yeah.
Or is this something that's just really not that big of a deal?
Yeah.
And that was so eye-opening to me because I felt like as a mom, especially managing a lot of kids in a short amount of time, within a really short window of time, that I felt like I needed to stay on top of everybody all the time. And
Drill sergeant.
Yes, that's what it felt like sometimes. But that was really eye-opening to me that I can kind of treat things with a little more lightheartedness. If it was a particular behavior that maybe they might, we could just maybe laugh about it, or I could maybe just ignore it. Like not everything has to be a battle.
Not even bring it up.
Right. Or distraction, right? Using the art of distraction for a kiddo.
100%.
And that just was really helpful for me. I felt like it kind of gave me some freedom to be able to decide, like, I don't know. It just gave me some direction on how to pick my battles well, rather than did I wake up grumpy that day and I wanted to fight every battle, or I woke up really tired and I didn't want to fight any, right?
Yeah.
It was.
And those days that you're grumpy as a mom, I don't know about you, but I would laugh sometimes and go, guys, I'm really sorry. It's time to put mommy in timeout because I'm really responding badly. And I would go do it. I would say, yep, got to go in timeout.
Right. Yeah. I don't know that I did that super well when my kids were younger, but as they got older, there were times when I just would say, Guys, I am feeling a lot of emotions. I need to go to my room. I'm not mad at you. I'm not upset with anything about what's happening with you. Life's just kind of full and hard right now. So I'm going to go to my room. You might hear me cry, and that's okay, but I'll be back out in a little bit, and then we can do whatever's next on the list of things to do. But yeah, kind of like a more grown-up version of a timeout that I put myself in.
For sure. So mom, sometimes put yourself in timeout or go to your room.
That's right.
One of the above.
Yeah.
So can you help us understand this world of pelvic therapy? I know we've been talking about a lot with moms postpartum, but how does pelvic therapy help children? And talk to us about that.
Yeah. There have been some research, things that have come out in the last 10 years or so that talk about the incidence of constipation in kiddos. And it is different research results show different things, but it can be up to 30% of our childhood population of kiddos that have constipation in some form or another, impacting them in different ways throughout their just everyday life.
Yeah.
So it is a really it happens a lot to kiddos. And it's not something that we really ask parents about or talk to parents a lot about unless it becomes a trip to the ER because they're so impacted that maybe they haven't pooped in 10 days or 2 weeks, or they're
miserable.
Yes, they're screaming and they're just absolutely just miserable.
Yeah. And sometimes it goes hand in hand with bedwetting too, doesn't it? And especially with boys.
Yes.
Boys oftentimes have constipation and bedwetting at the same time.
Yeah.
So how do you help kids with that?
Yeah.
Tell us.
Wow. There's a lot that we do within therapy sessions. I would say the vast majority of my first session with kiddos is really just education, depending on the age of the kiddo. So I do a lot of education with parents and talk to them about, let's talk about how much a kiddo is inputting into their body.
What are they eating and drinking?
Yes. There are guidelines for kids based on ages. And a lot of parents, I'll say, okay, so your kiddo based on their age should be drinking about 40 ounces of liquid. And then their eyes get as big as ping pong balls. And they're like, oh, there's no way we're getting that much liquid within a day. So liquid is actually one of the things that I start with. I can almost guarantee fiber intake is pretty low in a lot of my kids with constipation. Then we talk a lot about the right way to sit on the toilet, the ways that we want to avoid sitting on the toilet. We talk about working into our breath and how we breathe properly to help a child evacuate their bowels a little better, cleaner, easier.
We need college students to hang out with our kids that are having problem getting fluid because, they carry around these ginormous water bottles and get their fluid. We need that to be cool with kids, right?
Right, yeah. I'm trying really hard to get that going for our pelvic floor kiddos. But somehow, believe it or not, little kids don't have that. It's a little bit harder for them to keep track of things like a water bottle. So those get lost frequently with our kids.
It is hard. And it's hard for them to stop at school to drink water. It's hard to drink water at school.
Yes. Yeah, it is. I'm finding a lot of classrooms and a lot of teachers will allow kids to have water bottles at their desks.
That's helpful.
Because research is telling us so much about how liquid intake is great for just brain function. And so there are a lot of teachers that will actually allow kids to have water bottles at their desks.
And it's also important to have a backpack that holds a water bottle. I know when I was choosing backpacks as a mom, I would try to always get one that would hold that water bottle securely. And because if you don't have that, it's, like you said, really hard to keep up with it. And carabiners are also helpful. Using carabiners to have a water bottle that, not one of the heavy ones that conks you on the head, but, a lighter weight one that you can use that clip or carabiner to clip it to your backpack.
Yeah. That's great. That's good.
So, besides drinking water, what is another tip that you feel like, moms can do? Like what's something practical that they can do?
When your kiddo is sitting on the toilet, that's a hard thing to sit on. It's like nothing else that we sit on our entire lives, right? We never sit on a seat that has a hole in the middle of it. Right. And so if you can kind of think about what that might feel like to their little bodies, usually they don't have something to put their feet on, and so their feet are not set or
they're
stable
not secure.
on them.
They're just
not secure,
dangling,
which means they're holding onto the toilet seat. A lot of my kids will lean back against the back of the toilet seat for stability, and then every muscle in their body is contracted to keep themselves upright and keep from falling into the seat with the hole in it and with water at the bottom.
Makes it very hard to relax.
It is very hard to relax that way. And so it's amazing getting kids just positioned in the right toileting position and how beautiful that makes it for kids to be able to let go and be able to poop in a toilet.
I used to teach parents, if they were able to sit on top of your countertop and let your feet dangle and feel what it feels like to have no support. You close your eyes and you feel all the muscles that are working when you're dangling like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So getting those feet supported. I know a lot of parents are using the toilet seat that just fits right onto the toilet, the adult toilet, and it has a couple of step stools or steps to it. But a lot of times our little kids can't even reach their feet to that top step when they're sitting. And so we talk a lot about making sure those feet are good and supported, that their ankles, their knees, and their hips start out at that 90-degree angle.
Really good.
So they're very, very supported.
The squatty potty.
If
you haven't heard of the squatty potty, it's the best.
It is really good. And I don't even know if they make them in pediatric versions or not.
I don't either. I haven't seen them, but I wish they would because it would be a little taller. But I'm a fan of the squatty potty.
Yes. That's been really helpful for a lot of people. When you get your body in that position, it makes it easier for you to actually lean forward. We want that hip angle. We start out at 90 and get good and stable, and then we actually close that angle up a little bit. So I often will encourage kids to put either their hands or their forearms on their knees, so they're leaning forward. I encourage them to get a nice straight back, and that puts them in the most beautiful anatomical position to open up those pelvic floor muscles and be able to poop much easier.
That's so good. Yeah. So moms, that's a good tip for you to try right there.
Yes.
Well, sometimes if you're like me, I was a mom noticing I had one of our children would go from being constipated to runny, to constipated to runny. And the child at the time was 9. And I went, this is not right. A 9-year-old this should not be happening. What is the root cause? I wanted to get to the root cause and found out he was really severely allergic to corn.
Whoa.
And needed to get off corn. And we did eliminate a lot of other foods, but sometimes an elimination diet can also help. So you slowly reintroduce foods back and figure out which ones are causing the constipation. And, he's 31 years old now and still says he can't have corn. Like he feels it. If he has something with corn in it, he feels it right in his gut.
That's tough. That's really tough.
So health-wise, how do you coach parents around that? I was fortunate to have a good doctor we went to that helped figure that out. But if you don't know the questions to ask or you don't know what foods it is, how do you problem solve that?
Yeah. I'm finding that a lot of our kids that come to us for pelvic floor therapy also have some picky eating tendencies as well. And so I will often tag team with one of our feeding specialists and work on the intake part of that to really increase some of those food choices for them so that they are getting some more of that fiber input. A lot of my kids just don't eat enough to where we could even really try an elimination diet. That would be really, really tricky for
if they're so select, they only have a few foods they eat.
Yes. So I would, in that case, I would really encourage parents to talk to their pediatricians and see if there are any underlying allergies. We do talk about constipating foods, foods that can be irritating to both bowel and bladder. We do that a lot during our first and second sessions together. But a lot of times kids can go back and forth between seemingly constipated and having those really, really loose stools. But that is often a function of just being so compacted and so constipated.
That it's just leaking out around the blockage.
It is, right? You eat, regardless of whether you're constipated or not, your body is always telling you, hey, it's time to eat, it's time to drink. And so we do that. And then our body just knows that if once that food gets down to that large intestine, and that's the part of the body that's got to pull out the liquid so that the liquid can go to all of the body processes and make them run smoothly. But the large intestine knows, oh, wait, if we're really impacted towards the end, then I can't give a lot of liquid because then I'm just going to keep filling up with this really hard stool. And so the body stops taking the liquid out of the food and the mush that's in that large
fascinating
intestine.
that we do that.
Yes. Our bodies are just so well constructed that it just knows. And so as it continues to go through that digestive system, it really stays liquid. It finds the cracks and the crannies to kind of get through that compacted stool. And then the body will either leak it out because it's good and liquidy, or they'll look like they have diarrhea, or a really soft,
and then
bowel movement.
They're probably really dehydrated too.
They're very dehydrated. So it's a teaching point for parents that it's really important that we get really good nutrition, really good liquid intake for our kiddos, so that we can soften up some of that stool and allow it to pass a lot easier.
So what makes it successful? So if a mom's thinking, oh gosh, this is my kid is dealing with this. Should I try pelvic floor therapy? Should I do this? Should I venture into this? It's going to cost us money, all the things.
Right.
What makes it successful? Like the cases that you've worked with when kids really come through the other side, clearing up that constipation and getting, on a good bowel and bladder routine, and they're successful. What are the things that makes it successful?
I think the thing that has been so rewarding for me to see is to watch kids' self-confidence absolutely explode. The fact that they have control over their own body in such a what we make seem such a simple everyday kind of process. Before pelvic floor therapy, there's a lot of emotions around that, whether that's fear, whether that's just getting dysregulated over the sound of a toilet, the sitting on a toilet. Shame is so big in this area with these kiddos, especially in our older kid population. Like just being so ashamed of the lack of control that they have of their own body. They're ashamed, or they're afraid to reach out, and
they feel like a baby, like they can't control it when other kids around them can, and it's very emotional.
They know that they don't smell good. They're afraid to reach out and make friends because, what if they find out about this about my body and me, and they won't like me, or they'll give me more, make me feel more ashamed. And there's just so much mental
anguish.
Angst, really, around
anguish,
that. So I think what's so exciting for me is watching kids go from that very subdued, very quiet, very shy sometimes really unhappy kiddos to this confident kiddo that walks in the room smiling, right?
Oh, that must be fantastic.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I think of one of my kiddos. She was an older kiddo, and she would come in, and I would say, "Okay, let's move your body. You have the gym to yourself. What would you like to do? What makes your body feel really good for these next couple of minutes?" And she could not make a choice. She just couldn't. She would rather just sit and be still and quiet, and then
disappear.
Absolutely. And then by the time we finished, she was like, "Oh, I'm doing that and that and that and that." And she would take full advantage of that freedom in our gym and could move her body in the way that she wanted to, because she'd done all the work that she needed to do. She had gone from a kiddo that was in tremendous pain, having bowel movements maybe once or twice a week, to having bowel movements every single day.
Which is mom's supposed to happen.
It's supposed to happen.
It's supposed to be every day.
Yes, our GI specialists, from doctors to nurses, they say our goal is to have a daily bowel movement.
Right.
And then have, and in pelvic floor therapy, we call it no poop leaks, no pee leaks, and really no abdominal pain. There shouldn't really be any pain that's surrounding that particular part of our body.
And no matter how good we are at moms of trying to not be frustrated or trying to not put feelings onto our child, it's really hard. It's a pain when you have to wash sheets every day and wash clothes all the time. And
throw out underwear.
And constantly none of us are good enough that we can mask that all the time.
Right.
It comes through.
Right.
It's frustrating.
It is. And there's so much comparison that I know that it is so easy to look at a fellow mom and be like, her kid potty trained in whatever, X number of weeks. And here my kid is 5 and they're still wetting the bed, or they're still having accidents. And it's so disheartening. It is so disheartening. And there's so many strategies and information out there on how we can help our kids. And I'm sure as moms out there have tried everything. And if it's still not working, it's just, it's so hard for a mom's heart to be able to think, I've tried everything I know to try. And it's still not working.
Well, there's hope. I mean, that's kind of why we're doing this podcast.
Absolutely.
Is there are pelvic floor specialists. It does need to be someone with that extra training. It's not just any occupational therapist or any physical therapist. It's usually OT or PT that are specialized in this. And it's, you need to ask your pediatrician to help you find the right person to partner with you and your child. And, fortunately, you see kids from all over this area, come to you. And it's worth the drive if you have to drive a little bit more to see a really great pelvic floor therapist. But you can contact Marshall Pediatric Therapy and ask for Ashley.
That's right.
She'll help you.
That's right.
And what I love about her is she's so encouraging. I know you can hear it in her voice. You're such an encouraging person to the kids. And I've watched you with kids and watched them react to your you just have a kind, sweet nature about you. And I know it takes a kind, sweet person to help a child through something traumatic like this.
It is. It is really, I like to, when kids come in for evaluations, I like to make sure they know why they're there. And then I'll just come right out and tell them, hey, just so you know, when you come here, we're going to talk about poop and pee. And they always look at me like, wait, what? We're talking about what? And I say, that's why you're here. And then I always like to tell them, I know I've only known you for a few minutes, but I can already tell you're a really cool kid. And all of the struggles that you're having with this poop and pee, that doesn't change the way I think about you. I think I've got some really good strategies that we can learn.
That makes me cry.
To give you the
thinking
power.
About a kid hearing that.
Yeah, and to be able to tell them, I believe in you. I know this is been a hard journey. But also, I also need you to know, whatever you tell me, doesn't change the way I feel about you. You're already so special. Good. You're so like you bring so much to the table. I can't wait to learn about who you are. This is exciting for me. And I don't want you to be ashamed, and I don't want you to be embarrassed. And then a lot of times I get to tell parents the same thing. I see you. I know you. I know the journey that you've been on to get here too. There's no condemnation. There's no shame going to be here. There's some work we're going to put in here. Like we're a team here. I'm going to need parents to be able to monitor things and to be able to ask those really strange questions. What did your poop look like? Or, those kinds of things.
And to do the hard work, the hard work of eating healthy and drinking all that water that they need.
And making sure that every single day your kiddo is sitting on the toilet, even if there's some pushback on there, that's going to have to be a part of an everyday routine for your kiddo. And I can give you some great ways to make that a little bit easier.
That's so
and
good.
Get some good practice even in the clinic.
Well, I bet all the boys love talking about pee and poop. They love it.
Do.
They think it's so fun to talk about that.
Yes,
so you don't have
do.
any, I'm sure the girls are like, oh.
Yeah. Actually, we do talk about just the digestive process, and I've got some really great books that we talk through, like how food goes from the top of part of your body to coming actually out into the toilet. Yeah. And that helps break some ice too. And I think a lot of kids recognize that it is just part of normal.
Right.
That's just how your body works. It's how it was built and created to do. And I think that takes away some of the weirdness of it too, and brings some
kind
normalcy.
Of the taboo of not talking about it or not being able to be open about it. Yeah. So if moms know something's not right, just to repeat the steps, what would you give them as steps if they're seeing that their child's struggling in this area or having issues? What would you tell them? Repeat that.
Yes, absolutely. One, I would start keeping a log of when your child does have bowel movements, how often they pee in a day, how often you see pee leaks in underwear or full out accidents. And then how often you see poop leaks, or at our house, we call them skid marks in underwear as well. So really having concrete information is really, really helpful. That gives us a starting place, kind of know what the issue, where the breakdown is and what we need to start with first. For kids that are age 9 and under, you want to shoot for at least 40 ounces of liquid in a day. I tell parents water is best, but if you can't get water in a kiddo, for now, do what you can. Do whatever liquid you can to get into your kiddo.
Hopefully not caffeine, because that's not going to help the hydration.
Caffeine. Now, there are some caveats to that. I like to tell parents things with bubbles in them, so carbonated drinks, and things that are like citrus-based. Those are bladder irritants and can make your body feel like you have to pee, even though your bladder is not full. So be careful with that. You don't have to get rid of all of that right away, but in the back of your mind, just keep reducing that as you get on this journey of pelvic floor health. And then start paying attention to how much fiber your kiddo is eating, whether that's fruits or veggies or whole grains. You want to shoot for 3 to 5 is what we say regularly, but for our pelvic floor kiddos, I say let's go 5 to 7 if we can, or at least again keep that in the back of your brain as our long-term goal to get to.
And increasing the offerings. I know something I did was offered 3 vegetables every dinner.
Yeah.
Instead of 1 or 2, like the American diet is usually like 1.
Yes.
But do 3, because you can repeat those same 3 over several days and not have to throw food out.
Right.
You can buy 3 different choices and just keep repeating them.
Yes.
And have different sauces or dressings or whatever to help eat them.
Different condiments. Yeah, for sure. Back to those steps, I would say make sure that your kiddo is has got good foot support while they're sitting on the toilet. If you're going to use some sort of stool underneath them, that's great. If you've got an itty bitty kiddo, you might want to consider getting like a toddler toilet that sits right on the floor. Yep. And then make sure they're not leaning backwards. In that position, our pelvic floor muscles do a great job of coming together and contracting and keeping things from coming out. So if you are sitting on the toilet and you're leaning back and you're trying to push to make your bowels empty out, you're fighting against yourself. And you're not going to get very far.
No.
Or if you get very far, you're going to cause other issues. So getting that nice 90 degree to start with at hips, knees, and ankles, and then having a kiddo sit up nice and tall, lean over just a little bit. And then get some good, big, deep breaths. Those would be some great starting points.
That is a good starting point.
Yeah. Great.
And also, moms, remember to build it into your routine to have time, because sometimes if we're just rush, it doesn't give our little ones time to stop and, have that potty time and have that time that they need.
Yeah. I encourage parents to pick a time that's good for them and good for the daily routine. I could never imagine trying to do toilet sits for my family in the morning. It was just sheer chaos.
It is. So getting out the door.
Based on my experience, I say maybe not in the morning. Nighttime can also be chaotic if you have a lot of kids, or if you're just exhausted and you just want to get your kid to bed. But on the flip side of that, you can also pair that toilet sit with bath time, when a kiddo can be in some warm water, can help relax those muscles and the whole body, actually move them from the bathtub to a toilet sit after they get all dried off and stuff. And then be able to incorporate some of those bath toys in that toilet sit so that it's not just boring or feels like torture or things like that. That can also be really helpful too, especially for a kid.
That's all good advice.
Yeah.
I know our boys seem to always run in the door when they got home off the bus or right home from school was their time.
That's right.
But you can watch your child and help them develop those good habits, those times.
And our bodies love routines, whether that's morning routines, bedtime routines, even toileting routines are just so good for our bodies. Our bodies really thrive off of that. So think of this potty training time or this pelvic floor therapy time as training a kiddo's body to be able to function as it should, get rid of waste as it should.
So good. Your tips are informative and helpful. And moms, I know you can just implement some of these right away. And some of you moms who don't have kids having this problem, you may, because one doesn't, and maybe the next one does. That's just store this information.
Different stages of life too.
That's
can be. If you've got a kiddo that's super athletic or involved in maybe a summer sport, winter rolls around and they maybe don't have those practices or those movement opportunities, and so you might see things kind of change a little bit. Illness can really set a kiddo back.
It can.
There's just lots of different stages of our kids' growth that constipation may attack or hit that other times creep right in
and have happened. Yes. Well, Ashley, you're just a great wealth of information on this topic, and I appreciate you taking time to share your knowledge and to help moms through this. So I would have liked to have heard this way back when I needed it. So thanks so much for being here.
Of course. Right. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for listening to Help, I Have Kids. If you're tuning into this podcast, that means you're a mom who's curious, committed, and ready to learn. And we see you. We'd love for you to join our Help, I Have Kids Facebook community, where moms just like you are connecting, asking questions, and encouraging each other every day. It's a space for real conversations, expert insight, and support from moms who get it, because we're all in this together. And if you know a mom who's feeling unsure or maybe overwhelmed, or just needs to be reminded that she can do it, she can advocate for her child with confidence, share this episode with her. We're building a village here, and we're glad you're a part of it.